Happy Thursday and welcome to the second session of Bar Convent Brooklyn's Italian Spirits webinar series, sponsored by the Italian Trade Agency. With us are Livio Lauro, today's awesome speaker, and Paola Pavan from the Italian Trade Agency, who will tell you a little bit about the organization. But before we start, I want to share some housekeeping notes with you. First of all, I want to let you know that we are recording today's webinar and that we are sending out an email with the recording to you tomorrow. If you're having difficulty hearing us and are listening through your computer, please check that your speaker volume is turned up. If you're still facing issues, you can message us using the chat box, which is located on the right side of your screen. Feel free to ask questions at any time through the same chat box as well. We made a handout available for you to download under the handout section on the right side as well. That being said, take it away, Paola.
Hello, everybody. It's very nice to see you here. Thank you for taking the time to participate to another webinar, but I promise you this is going to be different than the others. We're very proud of this spirit project that we have been doing this year. It's actually the third year that we are promoting Italian spirits in the US. Mostly because there's a lot of interest, there's a lot of, requests for education, but also because we want our producer to be more connected with the market. So for that, we are giving educational seminars also to explain to the trade how to use the product, how to select them, what are the characteristics of the different types of spirits that we have, and we have a lot. We have Amaros, we have Limoncellos, we have many. So the Italian Trade Agency, the office where me and Daniela work here in the US, in New York, has the mission of promoting Italian products in the US, and our team is dealing with wine and spirits. So what we do is mainly to increase the awareness in the US, and not only on the distillate part, but also on the fortified wine, like for example, the vermouth. With this series, we want to share, our craftsmanship, our traditions, the ingredients, because, everything is Italian made and comes from a long tradition. So there's another seminar the next week on August 31st is going to be about vintage Italian cocktail. It's called also a blast from the past. So stay tuned, come back. We want to see you. It's going to be fun. We have some hashtag for this project. If you want to share on the social media, is hashtag Drink Italian and hashtag Italian Spirits. We also have a website, is it italianspirit.us, and you can reach us by email for any question that you have. So now we hope you are going to enjoy this presentation, and I give the stage to Livio.
Hello, hello, hello. Can everybody hear me okay? I hope so. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm happy to be here with you today. And as Paula mentioned, today, hopefully we are going to give you what we believe is a very different seminar or a different webinar. I want to thank you first and foremost for joining me. Today is a journey of tasty Italian liqueurs and tasty food from all over the world. We're going to discuss synergies, we're going to discuss contrasts of flavors, and it's going to be a lot of fun. One of the things that I always want to preface is, especially for those of you that run restaurants and bars with food, is that operationally speaking, pairing food with a spirit is the easiest thing you can do, yet it's so rewarding, and it's also something that nobody else can do. And the reason because of that is that nobody can serve your food. Anybody could make a good Negroni. Anybody could serve a really good glass of liqueur or spirit with good ice in a nice glass. But the matching of your food with liqueurs, that's something that's only unique to you. And operationally speaking, it's very simple to pour a glass before something to eat. If we have not met yet, my name is Livio Lauro. I grew up in Italy on an island called Ischia in the Gulf of Naples, right in the heart of the Mediterranean. It's the neighbor island of Capri. And I was there for most of my life. And not only did I obviously eat and drink there, and I was an avid consumer of all of those fine things, but I also bartended there. So I was able to experience some of these products on the other side of the counter, as I saw how they really enriched people's lives from a whole different perspective. Today is going to be very interactive, so please do comment and ask any questions. And before I dive so much into it, just thank you so much again for joining us today, because we know that there is a lot going on. We know that there are a ton of webinars. And so, you know, thank you for being a part of this one today with us. And like I said, please do comment, please do send questions. Food pairing is very subjective, and therefore everybody's opinion, not that in other times it's not, but everybody's opinion in such a subjective matter like this is always worth even more. So please do let us know if there's anything you do, or if there's any flavors that you detect that I should be considering, okay? Now, possibly everybody is familiar with the idea that pairing food with a drink is an experience where both components are supposed to be enhanced, right? So the sum of the two is supposed to be greater than 1 + 1, because the two should be working well together. We also know that food pairing is very subjective, as I mentioned. And to be quite honest with you, when it comes to spirits and liqueurs, I was the first non-believer. If you would have asked me just a handful of years ago, I would have just kept on saying, people, wine is great with food, beer is great with food, sake is great with food. What are you doing thinking that limoncello, something so sweet, rich, thick, would do well with flushing your food and all of that? So I have come a long way myself, as I have experimented more with doing these types of things. However, there is also some truth on the other side of that, right? So in a food pairing with liqueurs and with spirits, but predominantly liqueurs, where we have a high concentration of sugar and big, rich, bold, sweet, syrupy flavors, we have to apply different rules than we apply during a wine tasting, or during a beer pairing seminar, or a beer pairing session, because we are not flushing food. We are, in essence, trying to season the food with something that will make it taste better. So, you know, high alcohol, as you will find in liqueurs, or higher amount of alcohol than you would typically find in a bottle of wine or in any other type of fermented beverage, it blunts your palate, right? And then when you make cocktails, or if you serve them over ice, ice also blunts your palate. And so to some extent, they have to be used properly in order to do the job the way it should. So while I like a great cocktail with food, today we're going to avoid all the challenges that come with that, and we're going to basically taste alcohol, or I'm going to taste alcohol neat, and I'm going to give you what I feel are some really good international pairings. Please do give me any comments if you have any, or any questions. And with that, I'm going to just check in and see if there is anything for me right now.
No, not right now. They just ask us to tell again the website. So it's italianspirits.us. And if you want to reach us by email, it's New York, as the city all spelled out, at ice.it.
Very, very good. Thank you for that. Yeah, and the ITA website is very resourceful. There is a lot of really good information on all sorts of Italian products. So I was using it earlier this week, so I think it's a really good resource that everybody should take a look at. So when it comes to pairing liqueur with food, I want to kind of give everybody the analogy of a Sazerac. For the bartenders in the room, what is one of the first things you do when you make a Sazerac is you add absinthe or absinthe inside the glass, you twirl it around, right? And then you discard any additional part of it. And then you have this very aromatic glass. And within that glass, you make the cocktail, right? With food pairing with liqueurs, it is my belief that the most decadent, quintessential way of doing it is very simple. What you're doing is you are coating your palate with a very yummy ingredient. And then you're gonna really kind of not pair it with the taste, because the taste comes and then it goes. You really wanna, after you swallow it, you wanna look out for the aftertaste. You know, what's the difference between taste and aftertaste, right? Is taste is typically the dominant flavor you detect while you're ingesting the drink. But the aftertaste is what lingers in your mouth after you've swallowed it. And so that flavor that is in your palate after you've swallowed it is money. It's a really perfect seasoning for your food. Now, there's a little bit of science behind aftertaste, and it's basically the remaining chemicals from the drink, and they stick on your tongue, on the back of your throat, as well as on your esophagus. But nonetheless, when we have that aftertaste, we can apply a good form of food to that flavor that is left. So to bring this a little bit into perspective, right? I'm going to start with the first product. I'm going to talk about them as well because it's always important to know what we're tasting. This product here is Italicus Rosolio di Bergamotto. Now, it's made in Torino in a family-owned distillery, and it's made with the Calabrian bergamot, the Sicilian cedro. It's blended with a neutral Italian spirit. And there are some other ingredients that we do know are in there, such as chamomile, lavender, yellow roses, melissa balm, gentian root. And of course, it's made in Italy, and it comes at 20% alcohol by volume. 20% is it's really good because of, again, we're not blunting that palate too much. The recipe of this specific Rosolio, right? Rosolios were around in the 1500s. These predate vermouth. So if you have a bar that is, or a liquor store that is really geeky and liquor, liqueur centric, it would behoove you to have a Rosolio, at least one. It's one of the oldest beverages around. And this specific recipe, it comes from the 1800s, and it's called Rosolio di Torino. Rosolios were made everywhere in Italy. They still are. This one, of course, is a recipe from Torino. Why do we not know a lot about Rosolio? Because in the 19th century, the King Amadeo III preferred vermouth, preferred things made from grapes. He actually banned Rosolio. And then, of course, it came back. But going back to our tasting, so I have this glass in front of me, right? I have a straw color liqueur, and I have some aromas of honeyed sweetness. And when you are hosting a food pairing, of course, all these things are going to be very important. I'm not going to give you too much of the romance because we have 30 minutes and I do not want to, or 45 minutes, including Q&A. I don't want to take all of that away, but it's important that you do sell the romance. And, I'm going to plug a friend of mine right now. We have a restaurant here in Las Vegas called Gaetano's, and the owner and GM, Nick, he hosts a bunch of spirits and wine pairing dinners, and he's always sold out. So, of course, because he's selling the romance. So pick your slowest day and take people through a journey like this. Why is the appearance and the color important? Well, most of the times it's going to tell you what's in the glass, right? A lot of people will disagree with the fact that a darker spirit will have more flavors to it. But in general, it actually does. We did a test with caramel coloring, and caramel coloring, despite the fact that people say it does not add flavor, it does add flavor. So on with the aroma. I'm getting some honeyed sweetness, right? So honey and sweet. chewy orange. I'm getting like lemon drops, lavender and rose and citrus, and just a really touch of bitter. That's what this product tastes like. But now I'm kind of giving it a 10, 15, 20-second break and seeing what's kicking in. And what's really kicking in is I feel like I just ate a flower, like a lavender with a zesty lemon, right? And so this lavender and this zesty lemon flavor is the seasoning to what? Well, please do comment and tell me what you would pair it with, because you can go a gazillion directions. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Oh, and by the way, it's really long. Like, it's not like, okay, now you have 20 seconds, swallow your food, hurry up. No, this is here, it's here to stay. And so for a, what would I pair this lavender lemony sweet flavor with? A complement pairing for me would be light fish, like a sushi perhaps, a yellowtail, a salmon sushi, perhaps a tuna, even the ever popular California roll. And why is that? Because this aftertaste that I have is literally like I'm dipping the sushi into a floral citrus sauce instead of the soy sauce that some of us like, and putting it together. So think about this. In Italy, when we have the happy hour, the aperitivo hour, most of the times it is given to you with some potato chips. The potato chips are American. The liqueur is Italian. So two worlds really meet together. In this case, we have two ancient countries like Italy and Japan meeting together for this really nice experience of a Rosolio ancient liqueur with sushi that I believe is right about 2,000 years old. Where on earth can you get an experience like that than anywhere else? I'm going to go with a contrast pairing, and then we'll see if anybody else has any comments. This flavor is still in my mouth, so right now I would love to have to contrast it. So to play tug of war, I would do a savory chicken kebab, maybe some lamb dishes from the Middle East. And why is that? Because the herbs that are typically in those dishes are very herbaceous, and the lemon and the lavender that is in my mouth right now is going to kind of try to drag people the other direction. So there you go. That is the first pairing that I recommend. Paula, checking in with you.
Yeah, we actually have somebody suggesting and asking your opinion about a pairing option with summer roasted vegetables.
Salmon rolled what?
No, sorry, it's my English. It's summer roasted vegetables.
Ooh, yes, I think so, because it depends on the char of the roast, right? When you're eating summer roasted vegetables, the main flavor is going to be how roasted these vegetables really are, right? Unless there's a big rich seasoning. And when you pair a food with a drink, it's always the richest flavor that you have to be careful of, right? It's not the potato or the squash that you're worried about. Those are, relatively speaking, easy going, but it's what did you season it with, or how much did you char it? So I would go with a light roast, and absolutely, because it's very delicate, right? It's delicate product with a very delicate flavor profile. And by the way, that just sounds so summery, and it sounds so, oh, I'm going to eat and I'm going to drink and I'm not going to feel guilty because, well, it's summer vegetables and it's a rosolio and it's very, very delicate. So absolutely,
yeah,
right
I
on
guess
point.
also that it's rosolio is a low ABV, right?
Yes, 20% alcohol by volume. Yeah.
So you don't feel guilty at all.
I'm sorry?
Especially you don't feel guilty at all because it's not like a very,
Exactly.
and I know that Italicus is really good also for spritz. So in that case, you also have like a little diluted, you will have less calories probably.
Exactly.
No other question for the moment.
Okay, very, very good. Thank you for participating. Really, really good. And like I said, what I am saying is clearly not the Bible. There are many ways, many directions you can take this. Furthermore, as we all know, food has now you know, it's very, certain dishes have, you know, a birthplace, but they've become staples everywhere. So when I say, when I spit out a country, we also understand that that food could be a really big staple in our country as well. It was just born somewhere else. Okay, I'm going to go with the next product, just checking on my time right now. The next product I'm going to do is Paulini Limoncello. And so Paulini Limoncello was launched in 1999. Of course, it is from my neck of woods because Capri, Sorrento, Ischia, the Amalfi Coast, this is where this amazing lemon called the Sfusato lemon grows very well. It's a ginormous lemon, and believe it or not, they're not incredibly tasty, but their skin has these essential oils that are to die for. And I believe the best sour cocktails can only be made in the very, very best in that neck of woods because they have the lemons that can bring it to the game. What they do here, this product is made in Rome, but they take the zesty lemon of the Sfusato. They, of course, they peel it out without the pith. They vacuum seal it, and then within 24 hours, they soak the peel in pure alcohol. And then it's sweetened with Italian beet sugar, and then combined with additional lemon oils, which is how we get this amazing product. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this one up. I'm getting a cloudy, silky, milky, lemony color here. I'm getting a lemon zest, but I'm also getting, you know, that pastry style. For those of you that were in the webinar last week, I'm getting some almondy flavors that are indicative maybe of the sugar and the peel combined together. A little faint anise aroma. Sweet lemon marzipan. Take a concentrated lemonade, add marzipan and a little bit of anise to it, and you're in heaven. And as I wait a little bit, right, because I don't want to pair it with, I don't want to drink and immediately eat because my mouth is still blunt from the alcohol. I just want to give it a minute. And of course, this is why you have to do it with great liqueurs. And of course, Italy makes great liqueurs because you don't want something that comes and disappears 20 seconds later, because then that's not really a food pairing. So in this case, I really have this lemon zesty finish. Just basically lemon, that sweetness is almost gone. A hint of marzipan is there, but for the most part, I just have a lemon zest flavor to it. This could actually be easier to pair than wine itself, right? What needs a little spray of lemon in it? Well, a whole lot of foods do. When you do a complement pairing, you know, typically a food with high acid does well with a drink that has high acid, like this lemon flavor that is in my aftertaste. Now, some people might say, wait a second, limoncello is sweet. Again, we're pairing the aftertaste, not the taste. So acid decreases acid. So if you take highly acidic foods, say like a tomato, right? You're going to kill most of the acid and you're going to get a lot more sweetness from a tomato. Cured meats, right? Like prosciutto, salami, all of these, they're really high in salt and acid. But by pairing them with something that has that same profile, you're going to get a little bit more of the meaty punch and a lot less of the acid, which is, again, a decadent experience that you just can't have unless you would have done it via a pairing, via the seasoning of your mouth. All sorts of cured meats, of course. What about coffee? Coffee's high in acid. So if you take right now, I'm not saying a sip of coffee, which of course you could do, or an espresso, which of course you could do, but even just a coffee flavored sponge cake or one of those, you know, it's going to make that coffee flavor so much bolder because it's going to take that acid and kind of kick it out. Because of coffee, cured meats, salami, prosciutto, tomato, all of that, I'm going to stick with Italy on this one. And so with Paulini on a complement pairing, we're going to go with the caprese salad because it's got those tomatoes that I was talking about. And then the mozzarella cheese is just a really good bed for any flavor to come. On the contrast, though, I want to do something really different. I want to go with something like, you know, America's staple food from the southern states, which is fried chicken. And once again, fried chicken is, you know, it's, I want to say it's on a lunch menu in most of the restaurants now. It's one of the hottest, entrees or dishes you can eat. But basically, anything that's fried, like your calamari, all of those that are just literally waiting for a squeeze of lemon on top, this is a perfect pair. Once again, I will love to hear any comments on what you would pair a lemony flavor with if you had it in your mouth. And Paula, I'll check in with you, but I'll check in a few minutes as well if there's any other comments coming.
Okay. What about spicy food?
Say that one more time.
What about spicy food for the limoncello?
Well, you want to take it with the limoncello. So spice does very well with sweet, right? That's where the yin yang goes. So if I were to run with a food that was spicy, I would have probably done it more with the Italicus than the limoncello. Okay. So with the previous one, because I'm afraid that the high lemon, tang, along with the high tang that the spice is going with, there might be a lot going on. But again, it is all about experimentation. There's no mathematical fact in what I'm saying. It's you try something spicy, you try the limoncello. If they work well, money. If they don't, you might have to achieve it through a little bit of mixology, meaning maybe there's a slight little sugar-based cocktail that you would add, sugar into a cocktail with limoncello that you would add to make it work. That's my opinion again, and without having a spicy food in front of me right now and a limoncello and actually applying that, there's a little speculation there in that answer. Any other ones?
No.
Alrighty, we'll move on to the next one, which is Toschi Nocello. Toschi is a company that was founded in 1945 in Vignola, Modena. I believe that's where Modena is where the Ferrari is made too. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they launched Nocello in the 1980s, early 80s. I believe it was 1983. And this is part of that newer generation of Italian liqueurs. If you've assisted any of our other seminars, you know that at one point the American government really started asking Italian producers to add the ingredients and the alcohol by volume into their what they called medicines. And so our liqueurs went from being purely medicinal to being things that we were selling as liqueur. And so to make them as liqueur, we started making things that were a little bit more palatable. One of those is Nocello Toschi, and I'm surprised by how little I see of Nocello on cocktail menus and in bars and in restaurants, because this thing, quite honestly, is a gem. I have this amber brownish color to it. And the nose, I mean, it's exactly what you would expect from a liqueur that is flavored with hazelnuts and walnuts. So I'm getting these very powerful roasted nut aromas. I'm also getting a little tipsy, by the way. So the flavor is intense, really, really intense taste of roasted walnut, but I'm also getting a lot of fruitiness to it. And my aftertaste it's very different. My aftertaste is like mocha chocolate and maybe some chocolate nuts. Like I just took a bite of a chocolate pie with nuts on it, and what happened is now that flavor is left in my mouth, but that roastiness is really kind of sticking with me. So what do we pair roast with? Well, I like roast plus roast, right? A roast is, if you want to enhance the flavor of a roastiness, add a roast seasoning to your mouth and then eat something that's roasted. So what about roast beef or roasted potatoes and get this roast plus roast flavor to it? I mean, amazing, right? Can you imagine roasted potatoes, a little bit of maybe rosemary, some spices on it, and then a roast chocolatey flavor in your mouth? Home run. Also, some slightly charred bread does really, really good in this case with like any salty spread. Like maybe we go to Ireland. In Ireland, the brown bread is made with whole wheat and brown sugar. Or in Poland, where bagels are made, right? And we know because when we go to our local bagel shops, their bagels are flavored and baked with everything in them. There's even an everything flavor. So it would be a really nice combination here to have something like that, some type of a bread based dish to it. From the contrast, I like something that would be very highly acidic, something very, something that maybe has a white wine vinegar or oil and red wine vinegar. So maybe a nice salad, as you remember, right? What do we put on a lot of salads? Well, we put some nuts on top of it, some roasted almonds, things like that. So this nutty, roasty flavor with a highly acidic salad would play the yin yang that I'm looking for. So, I mean, one of the examples would be, we were talking a little bit earlier about summer salads, the Iraqi salad, right? Which is typically something you would find in Iraq. It would be really great. It has chickpeas, it has beets, it has cucumbers. Of course, it's really hearty, and so it needs a hearty product paired with it. And because of the addition of vinegar that it's dressed with, would really be a cool pair. Moving on to the last one. Any questions, Paula, before I jump into that one?
No, a question that I have is, because I usually don't drink spirits because they are maybe a little too strong for me. Is there a way with the Nocello, but I really like the Nocello flavor. So is there a way that we can have a Nocello with a little less alcohol, maybe mixed with something?
So the Nocello mixed with something just to kind of subdue the flavor?
Not
Yeah.
the alcohol.
Yeah. I mean, listen, soda water is magic because especially the highly fizzy ones, maybe Fever Tree or something that comes out of a charged soda siphon. Because what soda does, it does two things. And it sounds like I'm being too simple, but simplicity is always the key to these types of events. And quite honestly, simplicity, in my opinion, is a real way of life. But when you add a splash of soda in it, right, what the bubbles are going to do is they're going to eventually make their way on the bottom, but it's a gas. And what does gas want to do? It wants to come out. So the soda is going to push out through these little bubbles. It's going to push out the flavors that we were talking about. But because it's been diluted by the presence of the water in the soda, right, the flavor is a lot more subdued. Additionally, when the bubbles slap your palate, right? They're little air pockets. So rather than you getting on the top of your palate, let's just say 1/8 of an ounce that you just sipped, you're getting 1/8 of an ounce plus air, and that air really helps subdue a little bit the big flavor if the flavor is too much. So I think soda is the magic ingredient. Of course, a lot of people would say, well, why don't we go with a vodka or something neutral? But we're trying not to crank up the alcohol. We're trying to keep it at a lower level. To some extent, right? If you're pairing with, let's say, you're going more towards dessert, right? I went towards things that were very briny, salty. I went with savory food, but if you wanted to do a very basic pair, such as dessert with Toski, which is a home run, or ice cream with Toski, which is a home run, then in that case, if you're drinking the Toski by itself and you just want it a little bit lower in alcohol, then maybe a touch of cream, right? Or just a little bit of half and half, a little mixed together over ice, and it's a home run. Such a home run. Thank you for the question. Let's move on to the last one. We are going to drink Vitone Fernet, which was first created in 1842. It is the original Fernet, the first recipe that ever came out. The recipe is composed of at least 40 ingredients, at least. And we, of course, do not know most of them, but we do know that there's saffron, cardamom, orange peel, rhubarb, and chamomile, which chamomile is always in a bottle of Fernet because it gives that very, very dry herbaceous flavor that we are looking for. This product here is aged for 3 to 5 months into an oak barrel before it gets bottled, so you also get those little that concentration of flavor and those woody notes. Alrighty, we're gonna go with this, and again, this is where looking at the color will really help us. As I was mentioning earlier, it's dark brown. There's maybe a slight reddish hue. What that is going to tell us also visually is that we're in for a handful here, right? Aroma, just big, bold, licorice, you know, your typical minty, peppermint aromas that you find in Fernet, and maybe some cola, you know, like some flat cola aroma in it as well. On my taste, I have a I have like a fresh minty bomb, big chamomile, like a oversteeped chamomile tea that has been seasoned with citrus, lemon, and honey. And when I keep it in my mouth, I get bitter on the back, but on the top, I'm getting minty. And on the tip of the tongue, I'm getting some rootiness. So rooty, minty, and bitter. You tell me, what would you pair this with? I would go with, this is big, right? It's not for the faint of heart. I would go with like a grilled beef dish. So in this case, I would maybe go to Argentina. We have an Argentinian place here in Vegas that I love to go to. And, you know, their beef tenderloin is always very good. And in Argentina, they typically use 2 condiments. One is called the chimichurri, and the other one is salsa criolla. And they're basically like a parsley, garlic, salt for the chimichurri, and more like a relish for the salsa criolla. What I am getting from the residue of the Fernet, right, with that minty, bitter note, is something that would really help complement this beef tenderloin from Argentina. On the contrast side, so something that I really want to play tug of war with is I'm looking maybe for something that wants to be a protagonist, like an onion that likes to really take over the show. But I want it in a bed of something. Like, I don't want to eat an onion. I want it in something that it's going to be embedded in. So like a creamy soup, like a potato leek would be really nice, but probably the New England clam chowder, because it has minced onions in the recipe, is really going to counteract with this minty, piney, bitter taste that I have. And both of them, again, are hearty, right? Both of them are going to, not one is going to allow the other one to bully. They're going to play tug of war. And in this tug of war, my mouth gets to win the battle with yummy deliciousness. Checking in on any questions for you so far?
No. There was a comment for me, actually.
Okay.
They care about me. They were suggesting a non-alcoholic mixer to lower the ABV. Let me
And what
see.
was it?
It was, let me say, this was an English one that I saw some seed leaf.
Which one?
It's called Seed Leap. It's from UK.
Seed leek, non-alcoholic. Very nice. Very, very nice.
But
Well,
I must be honest with you that, you know, now that somebody brought out the information, there are some Italian non-alcoholic mixer that are coming to the market. I'm just talking right now with some producers, so stay tuned. I cannot say now, but they are actually talking with some importers to be imported in the US.
yeah, well, Italy has a very rich history of non-alcoholic sodas and just drinks in general, right? Remember, in the Italian aperitivo, the Sanbiter, the Crodino, the cocktail San Pellegrino, these are all non-alcoholic Italian drinks that are some of them untraditional, right? Because you're expecting them to be sodas and fruity and sweet, but no, they're quite bitter and piney and Rudy, which is really, really, really delicious. And quite honestly, I miss those. So I would hope to see them.
I will make my mission. Maybe we can talk about it, Livio, and try to, because they are very nice. They have this for the aperitivo. They have this bitter taste, but they don't, overwhelm you with the alcohol. So sure.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, so we are done with the tasting. We are done with the pairing. I would love to welcome more questions. I would love to welcome any comments. This is arguably the most debatable conversation we can have because it's so subjective, right? What restaurant do you have? How would you serve any of these liqueurs? And I do really want to quote unquote argue a little bit on going Italian when you are, serving, doing these types of pairings with liqueurs that are indigenous of Italy, because you have to remember, folks, that Italy has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years in making these liqueurs taste the way they are. So the combination of sweetness and whatever the flavor profile is, and the alcohol pump and the acidic, because acid is a big part of food pairing, that does not get mastered overnight. It just simply does not. And these producers have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years in giving you these savory flavors. They are intentionally, most Italian liqueurs, similar to Italian wine, are intentionally made to not take over the flavor by finagling with additional flavor profiles. If the wine is supposed to taste like dirt, it will taste like dirt. And if the liqueur is supposed to be rooty and rich and in your face, it will be rooty and rich in your face. And so there's no, oh, let's try to make it a little bit different. So I highly recommend that, if you're going to do these types of pairings, stick with an Amaro made in Italy, stick with the Limoncello made in Italy, et cetera, et cetera. Any other comments on that?
No.
All righty, well, so I'm gonna wrap it up for all of you. I wanna thank you all. I wanna thank, of course, Bar Convent Brooklyn for helping make this happen. Of course, I wanna thank ITA for putting this together all for us. I wanna thank our 4 partner brands, which are Italicus Rosolio di Bergamotto, Paulini Limoncello, Toschi Nocello, and the original Fernet 8 from 1842, Fernet Vitone. Please do remember our hashtags, which are right on top of me, hashtag Drink Italian and hashtag Italian Spirits. Do visit our webinar, and then don't forget the cocktail seminar, that webinar that we are doing on the 31st. Has really cool old vintage Italian cocktails. In Italy, we don't just make Negronis and spritzes. We've done a few more things than that. So please do tune in on that.
Awesome, perfect. Thank you so much, Livio. I can't wait to see you next Monday at 4 p.m. again. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, guys.
Bye.